Hi guys, GSXR 750K8. Stupidly, I was doing an oil change. I think it was already semi-done, but I've got to put my hands up. I over-tightened the sump nut and cracked the back of the sump. You can see it all hanging down. It wouldn't be like that normally. This would be up, bolted in place. This being the sump nut, boys. I've cracked behind it where I'm rubbing now, and it's drip, drip, drip. An expensive mistake to make. If I can do what I'm trying to do, new sump, gasket, sump nut, crush washer, header bolts and exhaust gaskets, 250 quid. That's in the UK, so a bit of a kick in the balls, but there's some issues with taking the sump off as well. Lots of places saying engine out or undo the bolts that hold the engine in place. Get a jack under the sump, obviously prior to undoing them, and take the strain of the engine to lift it up, because there's a bracket in the back which stops the sump coming off. I'm actually bending that. I come from an engineering background, and the little bit of mild steel that's there, I don't know if I can point to it, you can just see here, I'm just touching it, there's one bolt here that's still in place. I've bent the bracket back, I'll show you better in a minute. To get to that nut as well, boys, you've got to take off your gear shift. The circlip is on there. Undo the circlip, this just slides off. Get it up out the way. 8mm spanner then fits in through this hole onto the head of that nut, and we'll turn around, on again, turn around. It's slow going, have patience, you can get it done. The problem with that bolt is it drops out but touches a portion of the frame. You can see where the screw, you can see where the screwdriver just is there. That's the bolt, touches that, is for the black is frame, it won't drop past it. So there is another problem. What I'm going to try and do, first of all, remove this gear shift bracket on these two Allen bolts or hexagon wrench bolts, and I'm going to try with a multi-tool, you know, the vibrating tools, cut a little slot in that bracket, allowing me to ease it this way. That's my next stage. The bracket, if you don't know anything about it, is what everyone's saying is a big time pain in the ass. Excuse the shaky camera, I'm just getting on the floor. You'd like to think you could undo the sump and it just drop down straight, but you can't, because you can see the sump moving and there's a bracket in the way, look. Okay, I've bent that bracket because there's no way I'm taking the engine out. You can see it, there's the third part of the bracket there with that bolt that's still in there. Yep. I just need to bend that lug a bit more or cut this side of it, which is what I'm favouring. If I can cut a little slot, I should be able to slide that slightly out. I'd like to keep the bracket because it's obviously there for a bit of a reason. It's a pain in the ass though. So that's my next stage. Unfortunately though, to get to that stage, there's a little bit of work needed. Probably took best part of 2 hours, I guess. Fairing off both sides. Drain the coolant, radiator out. There's radiator. None of this is really difficult. Undo the header bolts. You're only taking the radiator off to get access to where the header bolts sit. Gently with them. If it's not been off before, it could be a bit of a swine. And all I've done is turn the radiator through, the exhaust through 180 degrees and resting it on the floor here. And it's sat on my rear set. Okay, I've not undone the sensor. I've not undone anything else. It's just sat there. Okay, I'll update you in a few minutes when I've tried to cut this piece. Okay, updating. Only a few seconds. I've literally undone the bracket, dropped it off, and it allows the sump to move around quite a bit. So with a little bit of teasing, just treat it like a beautiful woman, boys. That just came off. I did have two hands, but the bolt drops down enough. Sorry, this is terrible. I never do videos for YouTube, but I feel this is important stuff. There, she drops out. My sump is now removed. Okay, minimal damage to that bracket. I can get a better angle on it now, and I'll show you. You can see the bracket. So this is only very slightly bent. There, there, and there. This is where the oil pickup pipe sits. I'm going to actually bend these a little bit more. You can see now the minimal clearance between the bolts. 1, 2, and then 3 and 4. There's no way you can get it out. That's why it's an engine out job. But a little bit of bending on that, and I literally did it by holding the sump cover here and just easing it down a bit, and it wasn't much force. You know, it's gently. I've just eased it out. So I'm going to bend this one slightly more, and hopefully this will all sit back in place, and I'll be able to put the new sump straight in. If it comes to it though, I am just going to cut this plate out with a multi-tool. It's not required, so most people are saying. It's there to stop the sump falling if ever it came undone. Well, if it came undone, it's going to be pouring oil on the floor. Your back end's going to be slipping around. Your oil light's going to come on, and you're probably going to come off or pull over and see what the problem is. So there we go. Sump off, and engine is not out. Time spent so far, including a bit of messing around, realistically about 3 hours. The rebuild should be quicker. Sump arrives tomorrow with gasket, etc., and I'll film part 2 of me putting it back together. Hope this is helpful to someone.